Two people are sitting in a restaurant. The waiter comes by and mentions that the kitchen just ran out of the dish one of them ordered. The first person gets quietly frustrated. They were looking forward to that. Now the meal is ruined, the whole evening feels slightly off. The second person shrugs, picks something else on the menu, and ends up discovering a dish they've never tried before. Same moment, same restaurant, completely different internal experience. That gap between the person who experienced a closed door as a loss and the one who experienced it as a redirect isn't personality. It isn't luck. It's the lens through which each of them is viewing the world. Scarcity mindset and abundance mindset are two fundamentally different operating systems for how a person moves through the world. How they respond to setbacks, how they view other people's success, how they make decisions under pressure, how they treat opportunities that pass by, and how willing they are to give, to share, to invest in others without demanding an immediate return. This isn't just a concept for self-help books. The research on how these two mindsets manifest in real behavior, in careers, in relationships, in financial decisions, in trading, is some of the most practically useful psychology available. And today, we're going into all of it. The full picture of what these two mindsets actually are, where they come from, how they show up in daily life, and, specifically for traders, how the lens you bring to the market determines the experience you have there, long before the first trade is placed. But first, let's define these precisely. A scarcity mindset is the operating belief that the world's resources, opportunities, money, success, recognition, love, time, are fundamentally limited. That life is a finite pie. That if someone else is getting more, there is inherently less available for you. That the world is a competitive landscape, where every gain someone else makes is a threat to your share of what's available. This belief produces a very specific set of behaviors. Hoarding of information, of resources, of opportunity. Because sharing feels like giving away pieces of something finite. Comparison. Constant, often painful, because other people's progress is direct evidence of how the pie is being distributed. Decision-making, driven by fear of loss rather than possibility of gain. Difficulty celebrating other people's success, because at a subconscious level, their win feels adjacent to your loss. An abundance mindset is the operating belief that the world's resources are not finite in the way scarcity assumes. That opportunity regenerates. That success is not a zero-sum game, where one person's win requires another person's loss. That there is enough. Enough opportunity, enough success, enough room for everyone who is willing to do the work. And that the people thriving around you are proof of what's possible, not competition for what's limited. This belief produces the opposite behaviors. Generosity, sharing knowledge, making introductions, investing in others, without the anxiety that giving something away diminishes what's left. Genuine celebration of other people's success, because their win is inspiring rather than threatening. Decision-making driven by growth and possibility rather than protection and fear. And perhaps most importantly, the ability to let go of things that didn't work out without spiraling into the belief that the opportunity is gone forever. Neither of these is a fixed trait. Both are learned patterns, shaped by upbringing, experience, environment, and the stories people absorb about how the world works. And both can be changed. Not overnight, but deliberately, with the right understanding and the right practices. Now, understanding where scarcity mindset comes from is important because most people who operate from it aren't choosing to. They were shaped into it by experiences that made the scarcity model feel accurate and protective. Research by psychologists Senthil Mullainathan and economist Eldar Shafir, documented in their work on the psychology of scarcity, found that people who experience genuine scarcity of resources develop a mental bandwidth problem. The constant preoccupation with not having enough, not enough money, not enough time, not enough security, consumes cognitive capacity that would otherwise be available for longer-term thinking, creativity, and generosity. The scarcity isn't just a circumstance, it becomes a cognitive state that persists even when the original scarcity resolves. In plain terms, when you grow up without enough, whether that's money, safety, or emotional support, your mind builds a survival system to protect you. That scarcity mode makes perfect sense for where you were before. But the tricky part is that when things get better, that old protective programming doesn't automatically update itself. We end up carrying a survival playbook into a life where we're actually safe to look up and breathe. Abundance mindset, by contrast, tends to develop in environments where there was enough safety, enough opportunity, enough evidence that things work out, and where the people around you modeled a relationship with the world based on possibility rather than protection. It can also develop deliberately, through intentional exposure to environments and communities where the abundance model is demonstrated consistently. This matters because it removes the moral judgment from the conversation. The person operating from scarcity isn't greedy or small-minded. They're responding to a model of the world that made sense given what they experienced. And the path out of it isn't criticism. It's awareness, followed by the deliberate construction of new evidence that the world works differently than the old model suggested. These mindsets don't just live in abstract beliefs. They show up in daily behaviors that most people don't recognize as mindset expressions until they are aware of it. In relationships, the scarcity mindset shows up as possessiveness and comparison. The person who can't genuinely celebrate a friend's promotion because it highlights what they don't have yet. The partner who monitors attention as a finite resource. If someone else is getting it, there's less for them. The networking contact who hoards introductions and information because sharing their connections feels like giving away competitive advantage. These behaviors aren't malicious. They're the scarcity model operating in a relational context, treating human connection and recognition as a limited supply. Abundance in relationships looks different. It's the mentor who gives freely, time, knowledge, introductions, without calculating the return. The friend who is genuinely happy when someone in their circle succeeds because their success is inspiring rather than threatening. The professional who makes introductions and shares resources because they operate from the belief that giving creates more, not less. Warren Buffett has spoken about this directly. His relationship with Charlie Munger was built on a genuine mutual investment in each other's success, not a monitoring of who was getting more. The belief that their combined success was larger than either of theirs individually is a textbook abundance model. In careers and finance, scarcity shows up as short-termism driven by fear. The employee who won't share expertise with colleagues because their value feels tied to being the only one who knows something. The entrepreneur who underprices their work because they're afraid no one will pay more. A direct expression of the belief that opportunity is scarce and the next client might not come. The investor who panic sells at the bottom of a market correction because loss feels more real than the recovery that historically follows. Abundance in careers looks like investing in your own development even when the return isn't immediate. Pricing work at its actual value because you believe the right clients exist and that they will find you. Staying the course through difficult periods because you operate from the belief that opportunity is not exhausted, it's temporarily hidden. Some of the most successful long-term investors in history, people like Buffett, Howard Marks, have written about their relationship with market downturns as abundance-minded. The correction isn't the end of opportunity, it is opportunity, for those who aren't operating from scarcity fear. And then there's generosity, the one that reveals the mindset most clearly. A person operating from abundance gives without a mental ledger. They share opportunities, knowledge, and resources without tracking what they're owed in return, because they genuinely believe that giving creates more rather than depletes what's available. A person operating from scarcity gives transactionally, if at all, because every act of generosity feels like a subtraction from a finite supply. Now let's bring this into a trading context. The scarcity trader experiences the market as a finite resource that is perpetually at risk of running out. Every missed trade is an opportunity that won't come back. Every loss is money that the market took that should have stayed. Every quiet session is evidence that the good periods are ending. Every other successful trader is, at some level, competition for a limited supply of profit. Sound familiar? FOMO, the fear of missing out on a move that won't come back, is scarcity operating in a trading context. The belief that this trade, this setup, this moment is too rare to miss. We covered in the FOMO video that a missed trade costs exactly $0. But the scarcity mindset doesn't experience it that way. It experiences it as a loss, a subtraction from something finite. Revenge trading is scarcity too. The loss that must be recovered immediately because the money is gone and you want that money back. The urgency of the recovery trade comes directly from the belief that opportunity is running out rather than continuing to generate new chances. The trader who overtrades in quiet sessions, manufacturing setups because sitting still feels like falling behind, is operating from scarcity. The market isn't offering what they need right now, and the scarcity response is to chase what isn't there, rather than trust that it will return. Contrast this with the abundance trader. They experience the market as a continuous, regenerating source of opportunity. A missed trade is met with genuine indifference, not forced indifference, not performed equanimity, but the real thing. Because they genuinely believe another setup will come. Another session, another week, another opportunity that meets the criteria and offers a clean entry. The missed trade is not a subtraction. It simply wasn't theirs. A loss that can be absorbed cleanly. Not because it doesn't sting, but because it doesn't carry the scarcity freight of feeling like the market took something away from me. The loss is a cost of doing business in a probabilistic environment. The opportunity regenerates. The edge continues. There will be more. And the quiet sessions. An abundance trader looks at an empty market and just shrugs. If the market isn't giving you anything today, that's fine. You don't feel the need to force a trade because you know there will always be enough setups, enough sessions, and enough opportunities down the road. You aren't fighting over a finite pie. You're playing in a market that literally regenerates itself every single day. Shifting from a scarcity operating model to an abundance one is not a decision you make once. It is a practice, a deliberate, ongoing reorientation of how you interpret the events of daily life, including the sessions at the trading platform. The first practice is evidence collection. A scarcity mindset survives because your brain is constantly digging up proof to back it up. It hyper-focuses on the missed opportunities, the losses, and everyone else getting ahead. But you can build an abundance mindset by deliberately collecting the exact opposite proof. Ask yourself, how many new setups showed up this week that weren't even on your radar last week? How many times did a play fail only for a better one to pop up on your next trading day? The proof for abundance is already there. You just have to train your brain to actually look for it. The second practice is radical generosity, specifically in the areas where the scarcity mindset is strongest. If you find yourself hoarding trading knowledge because it feels like you're giving away your secret weapon, force yourself to share it. Help another trader out. Not because it makes strategic sense, but because giving when you feel like you don't have enough is the ultimate pattern interrupter. Every time you give freely and realize you didn't lose anything, that you actually understand the concept even better now, You're proving to your brain that opportunity isn't a limited resource. You're making abundance feel real, not just like a nice idea. The third practice is a simple reframe for missed opportunities, both in trading and in life. When something doesn't come through, a trade that moved without you, a deal that fell apart, a relationship that didn't work out, the scarcity response is something like, "That was it. There won't be another." The abundance reframe is a single question. What is this trying to point me toward? Not forced positivity, not pretending the miss didn't happen, but a genuine openness to the possibility that the next opportunity might be better than the one that passed, and that the passing of this one created the space for the opportunity to show. There is enough. Enough opportunity in the market to reward the patient, disciplined trader who shows up prepared and waits for the right conditions. Enough success in the world to go around without anyone having to lose for you to win. Enough room for every trader who does the work to build something real, without their success depending on someone else's failure. That belief, genuinely held and consistently acted on, changes not just how you trade, it changes how you move through everything. The mindset you bring to the market is the mindset you bring to the world. And the mindset you bring to the world was built long before you opened your first chart. Scarcity isn't wrong or weak. It's a protective model that made sense at some point. And for many people, it was a genuinely reasonable response to genuinely difficult circumstances. But a model built for protection eventually limits growth. It makes decisions from fear. It treats finite what is actually renewable. It experiences other people's success as a threat rather than as proof of what's possible. Abundance isn't naivety. It isn't the belief that everything works out effortlessly or that the world is without genuine constraints. It is the belief that there is enough, that opportunity renews, that success is not zero-sum, that giving creates more than it takes, and that the next trade, the next session, the next chance is already on its way. And that belief, held genuinely, practiced consistently, changes the entire experience of trading, of working, of building relationships, of moving through a world that looks completely different depending on the lens you're using to see it. Choose abundance. Not because it's comfortable, because it's accurate. The world and the market are bigger than the scarcity model has ever given them credit for.